Muhammad, when he leaves Mecca, he was persecuted in Mecca because he kept antagonizing them, making fun of their gods.
And that's vitally important to emphasize.
And so he
started it.
Yeah, they persecuted him. As long as he wasn't mocking their gods, they didn't have a problem with them. And that's in the Muslim sources. It's only because he kept ridiculing their gods and just insulting and degrading their religious beliefs. I'm pointing that out because that's what Muslims say that no one's supposed to do about Islam, but that's exactly what Muhammad did. So if he's the moral example, you should always criticize other people's religions. But Muhammad was persecuted in Mecca, we acknowledge that, and he eventually fled Mecca, went to Medina. Now, once he's in Medina, how much do the Meccans care about him?
They don't even think about him. They don't even mention him. They don't even lose sleep over him anymore. The
troublemaker is gone.
We
can get some sleep now, right?
Life is back to normal.
And Muhammad, now that he was in a different city, he had the opportunity to live in peace without conflict and just couldn't do it. What does he do? He starts robbing the Meccan caravans. And interestingly, they keep failing, right? They keep trying to launch raids against the Meccan caravans. So if you get in mind, Mecca is kind of in the middle of nowhere. They don't have a lot of natural resources, so they have to attack the caravans, rob them.
Exactly.
And this is dangerous because if you invest everything your family has in order to get something back, and Muhammad robs it along the way, you starve. You starve to death. So this was, let's say it, this is terrorism, right? He's trying to terrorize you. You don't know if your livelihood is safe any longer. And so Muhammad tries over and over again to rob the caravans. He keeps failing until he eventually has a successful raid that Muhammad came up with when he stole so-and-so from so-and-so's real followers. Seems that Muhammad robbed more than caravans, my friends. He also robbed...
Why did Muhammad rob caravans and loot the wealth of the Quraysh? I think it's well known.
No. Again, you cannot take ayats of Quran. You can't take parts of the seerah and treat it separately. You got to treat it all together. He inspired the Prophet ﷺ with a dream and with revelation that the Quraysh was moving some of their most precious commodities from one place to the other. So if my enemy, while I was with them, drove me out, while I was with them, killed some of my followers, plotted on my life, and now I'm in a place where I got my own spot and I catch my enemies in between with their commodities. Now, is that called robbing or is that a strategy of war? No, again, you cannot take ayats of Quran, you can't take parts of the seerah and treat it separately. You got to treat it all together. You see, this was a strategy of war. The Quraysh were criminals. The Quraysh were murderers. The Quraysh was already committing heinous crimes against the believers. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He inspired the Prophet ﷺ with a dream and with revelation that the Quraysh was moving some of their most precious commodities from one place to the other. So if my enemy, while I was with them, drove me out, while I was with them, killed some of my followers, plotted on my life, and now I'm in a place where I got my own spot and I catch my enemies in between with their commodities. Now, is that called robbing or is that a strategy of war? Hello? Allahu Akbar. So the Americans, they say on the basis of their own interests, our national interests, you know, the Norwegians, the Europeans, the Germans, the French, the G20, like they great. You know what I mean? You know, when it's based on their interests, they catch people out in between. They invade, they take. And when they say, why you did that? Oh, we trying to bring democracy. No. They're committing blatant crimes and intrusions and invasions. That's what Prophet ﷺ did. No, he stopped the caravan in between. He didn't kill no women, he didn't kill no children, and he didn't take from nobody except those who was robbing and stealing and killing and transgressing before. And he didn't do that consistently. He did it on the basis of the strategy of war that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to him at that time and place. And anyone who was in a battlefield would have done the same thing.